Good morning. Welcome back to the channel. Got a busy week ahead of us this week. Over Christmas I got a couple orders in, and I got to try to get to them as quickly as possible. I already have an order in that y'all saw me start on the other sawmill video, where the guy needs about another 600 board feet of 4/4. But I also have some board and batten that needs to be done, and I got a bunch of cypress that came in that this customer wants to cut into 4/4 boards. And I also have a mantle to cut out, which, you know, that's easy, but still, it's time. So, here we go. Busy week. Well, this blade's got to go to the dentist. Good morning. Lost a lot of time yesterday. Had several customers call wanting me to do stuff for them. The main thing that happened was that I got an order for a bunch of tongue and groove flooring made out of pine, 6-inch wide planks. They want that pretty quick. So I got to put them in line. But that's okay. We'll get to that one pretty quickly. Probably next week. But for now, the other thing that cost me time yesterday was my lull sprung a leak. Got a hydraulic issue right now. It's nothing major. I'll show it to y'all, but I had to call the repair place and get a part drop shipped so that I could get it repaired eventually. Seems like he says there might be some time before I can get that part because, you know, supply chain. Yay. So this is how far I got with my kiln load yesterday. Over here, these are 8s and 9 footers. These are 10s over here on this end, 10s and 11s. These ones that are 11 feet, after I get it all stacked up, I'll take a chainsaw to it and knock it all down to where they're 10 feet. That's all the customer needs, and then I don't have as many issues with baffling. That's quite a process. Hopefully we'll get to that today. Here's where the bulls I've been parking the lull. You can see where the hydraulic fluid's been leaking and dripping out. It doesn't do it continuously. It only does it while when I turn the wheels. And it makes it to where the front tires, this has 4-wheel steering, and the front tires will turn more than the back tires, and eventually what ends up happening is they're not in alignment, and this thing kind of crab walks along, and I got to stop, realign the wheels, and then I can go again. It's a pain, but it's not that awful. I just thought I'd show y'all what I'm dealing with this particular log. It had looked like either lightning got it or it lost a limb in a windstorm. It's hard to tell. The reason I think it might be lightning, you can see, try to get it here where we can get down to it. You can see this bark inclusion. I'm several inches into the log, and you see this bark inclusion coming along. And it comes down and in and continues along all the way to here. About 3 feet overall that was interior to the log. So it's a pretty substantial defect. And I'm trying to not give this to the customer because it's basically a useless piece of wood. I don't trust it. He's wanting to use this as decking underneath a solar roof, so it needs to be good solid material. So you can see I left some wane on the corners on this side and all of that. I'm going to put this towards the bottom and then start cutting off to the top and cut down to this, and hopefully I can stay out of that gnarly bark inclusion limb thing. Thought I'd show y'all what turned out with that bark inclusion. It starts way up here. That's where it first appears. And then as we go through, it gets deeper and deeper, and then finally we have a hole here. But most of this, rest of this is pretty good. So we could just rip this one down on edge to get rid of this bark inclusion right here. And I think I'll take these two, remount them on the mill, cut this bark inclusion out of it, because both of these are kind of loose. They're not really well attached. But the rest of these, they're solid enough that I think he can use them for decking. But that's a 16-inch tree, and it went in 8 inches or so. You got 5 inches of it right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches, yeah. And you know, I cut a couple inches off on the getting off the bark and the live edge. Surprised this tree hadn't gone over broken at the top here. Good morning. Welcome to day 3 of trying to get a video together. It's been a tough week between the lull of getting a hydraulic leak. Part of what y'all didn't get to see yesterday, I was having issues with the power feed on the mill head, saw head. The belt's worn out and slipping. Couldn't tighten it, so I ordered a new one. And so hopefully that'll come in quickly. The other issues I was having yesterday is that I sent my blades off to a new guy to get them sharpened, and he did kind of a crappy job. Not as sharp, don't track as well, don't evacuate sawdust as well, don't hold an edge as well. I mean, it was just it's been a struggle. So the mill is struggling to try to cut clean boards for me, and that makes life a lot tougher. Also got another phone call with another order yesterday. A guy wants a bunch of board and batten siding. And so I've got to reevaluate how I'm cutting my logs, because he wants 12-inch boards. And, well, I'm not sure if I have enough material, large enough logs to satisfy that. So I'm going to try a few different things, reevaluate how I'm cutting and what I'm cutting, and see what we can come up with. But first things first, unfortunately, to get in the way of all of this, I've got one of my tenants. Yeah, there's Freya being cute behind me. One of my tenants called this morning and says that they have a washer that is leaking. So I have to start my day with going over there and seeing what's going on with that. Probably not going to be able to bring y'all with me for that, because it's a tight space and there's just not enough room for the camera. So maybe I can bring you along for some of it, show you what I find and what I diagnose. I don't know. But at any rate, that's where I'm starting my day off. Okay, so what I've got here, got this cant that still has a lot of weight on it. It's 19 by 19 at the moment. pretty sure. Yeah. And my plan is, I'm probably going to take one more flitch off of this face. So I got, on the back side over there, I've got a pretty good bit of wane that I need to get rid of. And I'll pull another inch off of this side, and then I'll pull down 4/4 boards off of this face until I get to a 12-inch cant. So I'll have a 12 by 19 cant. And I'm going to save that for when I get to the board and batten siding. This guy wants like 100 feet worth of 12-inch boards, so 100 12-inch boards. And I'm not sure if I've got enough logs to fill that. I got to look and dig and see what I have. I've got a lot of them, but I don't know about that many. Tomorrow I'm supposed to get some more logs in, a handful of pine, some magnolia, and some oak. So hopefully those will help fill that. But I've got to start getting something going with this guy. He wants some longer boards. It's a 24 by 48 building that he's wanting to put board and batten on. So on the two narrow ends is where the gables are, and I have enough logs to fill his longer lengths, but the 10-footers that he needs to go down each side are going to be tough to fill. So we'll see how this works out, but for now, this is step one, is start now and trying to keep as many 12-inch wide boards as I can, because I need a bunch. Well, I cut 4 inches off of that cant, and these are the flitches it produced. These are 18 and 19 inches wide, with still have live edge on them. I'm used to logs that are somewhere around 16, 18 inches. This one was 26, and 29. And this is what I ended up with. This is a really, really nice piece of yellow pine. So far as, it's super clear, free of defects for the most part. Now for pine, even, little knots like this, that's not necessarily considered a defect. It would be an oak, but for yellow pine it's not, because, it's hard to get away from them. But just really nice wood. So, anyway, got to roll this joker over, because I got this end cut to where I've gotten rid of almost all of the live edge. Got to flip it over and cut that side, and so that I could get down to a 12-inch cant. This thing is still 16 inches tall by 19 wide. Okay, just thought I'd show you what I've got here. I got 9 boards off of that cant, and left me with a 12 by 19 cant to make 1 by 12s out of. It should yield 16 or 17, probably 17 boards. Now I have all of these boards with live edge on them, and I'm just going to got them. You can see how I got them hooked up here. And I'll just run through here and clean off one edge, make about a 6 or 7 inch wide board, then take the ones that are, then I could flip them up the other way and clean off the other live edge, and end up with hopefully a 7 or 8 inch board with clean edges. That was a fair amount of work, but it was worth it. None of my material is from forestry. All of this is what's kind of referred to as urban logging. This is all stuff that came from somebody's backyard or plot of land or something of that nature that they had tree service cleared. All of these are tree service logs. So what I'm doing is I'm diverting stuff from the landfill and giving it a second life. This stuff will be around for as long as the next structure that it goes into, and I try really hard not to waste any of it that I can avoid. The clients that I have, for the most part, are pretty willing to deal with a few defects or character, depending on how you want to look at it. But yeah, I mean, that's part of why I do this, because I see some beautiful logs end up in the landfill that I wish I could get on this sawmill, but I've only got so much space and so much time. Okay, these are the moisture probes that this kiln uses. These are full 1-inch length of the threaded section, and then there's a little head that you can put your socket onto. And drive them down into the board. Then all I got to do is take these leads and insert them into the plug, into the probe, and that helps me to be able to monitor the stack as it dries, and to also sends input to the computer. And this computer is pretty much automatic. I turn it on, set the parameters to it, and it'll run, and then once it reaches what it's set to, it'll shut off. With pine, I just set it to final moisture content and walk away. 5 to 7 days later, the stack is dry. With oak and con and other species like that, I calculate. There's some tables that tells me how much moisture content I could use and where to set it when it's at this moisture level, and then once you reach that moisture level, how to set it to get to the next moisture level, and so on and so forth, until you get down to your 8–10%. I don't dry much past that. Usually I only dry at a 10. Pine like this, especially since it's being used for construction, outdoor construction, I'm only going to take this down to 12. That's sufficient for that, especially, it's roof decking. It's not going to be inside an air-conditioned envelope. I only worry about 10% and below if it's going to be indoor furniture or something of that nature. And even then, in this climate here on the Gulf Coast, you're almost wasting your time. Equilibrium moisture content in this area is really 13–14% most of the year. But if you go under and then it swells up, you've got a stable product, and that's kind of the idea behind kiln drying. If I had a project that I was doing that was going to Arizona, I'd probably kiln dry it all the way down to 5%. Try to build with it and get a coat of finish on it and send it down the road before it can get any more moisture in it. But anyway, that's the basics of the kiln. And you put them in various spots in the stack. Here's this one that I just installed. There's one here down low, one on the other end that's up a bit higher. And I want to put a few more layers on the stack, and then put another set of probes in this one, probably in this front third of this back stack. Alright, just thought I'd show y'all this log. This is the next one. I got to give this one basically the same treatment. This is each end of this is about 24 inches, but there's a lot of hook and taper on this one because of the knots that you see right on here. What I'm going to do with my first cut is I'm going to set the blade up right in there into the hook of that notch and just take that hump off of that thing, and to just get it out of the way so that I could start squaring up this face of the board. If you look down here, you can see how the hydraulic toe board has got this end held up. I've got it set up to where I'm 12 inches off of the deck to the pith on this end, and there's a big bulge right here, and that is the only place that this thing is touching the frickin' touching the bunks. Over here you can see it's off of the bunks too, but also measuring off the deck I'm 12 inches to the pith, which is right there. So that should let me be able to cut this with minimal waste. This was going to be a challenge, but in the end it's going to end up getting the same treatment. I'm just going to cut jacket boards off of this, get to a 12 inch by whatever cant, and that way I've got some 1x12s for the board and batten project that I got to get cut, and I can finish out the kiln load. I don't need a whole bunch more to get to where I've got 1,000 board feet in the kiln. Not too bad. These knots are not as horrific as I had feared. I thought I was basically only going to be able to pull decking boards out of one side of this log, but these knots aren't as bad as I thought. What it looks like I can do is I can pull from this face and the opposite face, because these are the two faces with the most wane, and get it down to a 12-inch can. Right now the square measures 19 by 19, so I could take some off of this face and the opposite face and get each of these down to 12, and then I can save that for board and batten siding. Leaves me with a 12 by 17 cant, so 15 or 16 1x12 should come out of this. And I got, looks like four more boards to add to the stack over there. It's not enough, but it's getting me closer. So now I got to do some shuffling, get these boards off, put this one away, and probably cut one more log to get my kiln loaded up. You know, one more big one like this I'm going to give the same treatment to. Okay, so finally getting ready to close up the kiln. What I've got on these pallets are, on each one of them, there are 39 concrete pavers. Each one of them weighs about 40 pounds, 30 or 40 pounds. So each pallet weighs 39 times 30, 3,090 pounds. So there's 3,000 pounds of force on the stack here to help hold all of these nice and flat. As you can see, I've got the pallet designed to where the culls on the pallet line up pretty closely with the with my sticker arrangements, and that's just to try to make sure that I have a positive load all the way down to the base. So the next steps are to baffle. So I got to close off the holes in the pallet, close this gap up, and I've got to cut the ends off. These over here on this end on the bottom are actually 10 footers. I've got 21 feet of overall length that I can fit inside the kiln. So these right here, some of these longest ones are probably around 12 feet. I'll just take a chainsaw to them and trim them off and get this end nice and pretty. This end over here, I had to load some 9s, 8s and 9s in here to fill out the load. And then I got those up there on the top that I've got to cut off too. But I'll get my overall length down to 21 feet, just a little under 21 feet. And that makes it a little easier to baffle. And then I'll get this end right here closed off to the back wall. I'll show you all what that looks like when it's done. Okay, I've got it all baffled out. The way I like to do it is I like to have some foam there between the upper door that blocks off the fans and kind of directs everything down. I have this baffled on the bottom. These are just 3 pieces of plywood that are overlapping. So they just block off so I don't have any air leaking down below. On the end here, you can kind of see I've got this 18-inch wide board. It's cut way tall, but that does is it allows some variability in the stack. This end is always like this. So I have this plywood, which is, I got 3 rips in here that are 18 inches wide, and they're cut to where they match the exact length from the door here all the way to the back wall, so I can seal this top. And I have the foam in this door. Now I've got, you can see it here, that blocks off the pallet to where the forklift holes are blocked off. This blocks the end, and then I've got my stack down in there. It gets it to where I have really good airflow coming through the stack, and I have almost nothing leaking around the edges. Okay, these are the kiln controls. These 2 circuit breakers here, they operate the fans. These 2 operate my controller, KD250 or a Nile L200. Let it go through its cycle up. This is a Schedule 1 wood, so I'll just show you how I program it for Schedule 1. Alright, so you select, I don't know how well this is showing up, configuration, probe 2 on, probe 3 on, 4 on, dry bulb 120, wet bulb 75, final moisture 12%, wood group 1, and there we go. How it's set up, I have my compressor is on, my bed is on, and my heat is on. The humidification is off. You don't really need that for hardwoods like oak or hickory and stuff like that. So currently, my dry bulb is 70, my wet bulb is 68. And you can see my moisture content in each of the individual probes. Right now I'm running a 47.7% average between them.
and it'll take it for 7 days. And that includes sterilization cycle at the end to get these down to 12%. I don't go lower than that because I'm on the Gulf Coast here, and equilibrium moisture content's 14, so I'm going below that, and that way it only swells a little bit, and the customer gets a pretty good product at the end. Okay, y'all, that's going to do it for this one. This was a long time coming. Between equipment issues and rain and all kinds of other stuff. Oh yeah, and I had to go recover logs too during this video. I couldn't get any footage of that because it was raining like crazy that day. So instead of 3 or 4 days to load the kiln, it took me 7, which is just poor. But sometimes it is what it is, and when you work by yourself all the time, it starts to add up really quick. But anyway, thanks y'all for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one. Remember, like, subscribe, comment, tell me what I'm doing wrong, tell me what I'm doing right. Thanks.